for everyone on the East Coast, but it's still morning over here in sunny Southern California. Welcome to the RapidScale monthly webinar series, where today's webinar is Technical Deep Dive. How does it work? My name is Jeff Richards. I am the RapidScale Cloud Delivery Manager, responsible for all of the engineering and technical aspects of providing and building customer environments, customer cloud environments. I've been in IT for over 23 years, doing everything from running my own ISP in the 1990s to most recently being responsible for global infrastructure at a multi-billion-dollar medical device manufacturer here in Southern California. I've been here at RapidScale since January. Today with me is Amit Ramsamir, one of my senior cloud engineers.
Hey guys, my name is Amit Ramsamir. Like Jeff said, I'm one of the senior cloud engineers here at RapidScale. My job includes system architecture, infrastructure operations and maintenance, and escalation of customer issues. And today we're going to cover the technical aspects of cloud computing and how we can help provide our customers cloud services. So,
good. And I'm really excited to have all of our agents attending this webinar today, and I thank you all for attending. Before we get started, I do have a couple of housekeeping notes. The slide deck you'll be seeing today will be sent out via email to all participants late this afternoon. And the presentation or the slide deck will also be posted on the partner portal. I'll remind everyone a couple of times throughout the webinar, but also everyone is on mute during the webinar. If you have any questions, if you would, please post those questions in the questions field in the GoToWebinar dashboard, which should be on the right side of your screen, 4 or 5 points down, there should be a questions field. Just post the questions and we'll address them as we go along. And with that out of the way, I will turn the control of the webinar over to Amit to start.
Thanks, Jeff. So what we talked about, the topic is how does managed cloud work? And we're going to start with the basic tenets of cloud computing and sorry about that. Yeah, and our first topic will be server virtualization. Basically, server virtualization is, the abstraction or the decoupling of physical servers or physical resources from the physical layer, and then grouping those resources into some kind of assignable pools. And what we do with that is that we slice up CPU, RAM, and storage into these resource pools that we can assign to your tenants, to your customers, as they get onboarded into the RapidScale cloud. And the beauty of this is that as in traditional computing, when you have a server, a lot of the time that server is sitting there unused or waiting to be used when there's downtime or as the business flow fluctuates and operates. What we do by doing this, by slicing up these resources into resource pools, it allows us to have better efficiency with our hardware. And with that, the customers can have lower capex when they purchase these servers from us, or purchase these time slices or these dedicated virtual servers from us. You no longer have to purchase large buckets of hardware. There's not a large capital expense building an infrastructure that we've built and we've secured for you in our cloud. This creates a manageable OpEx cost structure that customers really like, and they really enjoy paying month to month for their IT services, and it's a planned purchase every month that they don't have to worry about, they don't have to think about, and they can easily scale and grow with that and do forecasting on their spending models. This allows the customer to focus on core competencies of their business, so they spend more time dealing with their business than dealing with IT. And we here at RapidScale can kind of facilitate that switching from going from a local standard IT infrastructure to a cost-based, OpEx-based infrastructure. Once again, if you have any questions on this, let us know. I'll put it in the chat windows, and we'll be able to address it later on. The next tenet of cloud computing is network virtualization. So as we virtualize the hardware and the servers themselves, we also have to virtualize the network. And the reason for that is that being able to scale up and scale down, add and remove customers is very critical to our business workload, right? And to be able to onboard a customer quickly would take a lot longer time if we had a physical, very static network that was limited on what it could and could not do. So again, what we're doing here, we're abstracting and we're decoupling the network resources from the physical layer. And what we're doing, we use technologies such as VXLAN and other virtualization technologies to create isolation models of layer 2 domains. And layer 2 domain is basically an IP subnet. So, you know, your 192/24 subnet, that's a layer 2 domain. And what it allows us to do is create multiple layer 2 domains that have the same IP address schemas, and each customer can have same schemas, or they can have any schema that they'd like. And we can lay them on top of our network hardware, virtualized, and allows us to easily manage those schemas without really thinking about you know, the addressing and the routing between them, because they don't talk to each other. And that's the other beauty of network virtualization, is that it allows us to create completely separate tenants, separate domains from each other, and run them on the same hardware. And once again, just like server virtualization, it brings all the same benefits to the businesses. There's no dedicated network infrastructure for your end customers. They rely on our infrastructure that we've built and we secure, and we spend our expertise on, and then they just get an OpEx model. There's no large CapEx investment for them. So that OpEx cost structure is beautiful for the customers. They like being able to manage it and be able to see what they're dealing with month to month. And again, once again, they're focusing on their core competencies. They're not spending money on a network engineer and a security architect to design a network for them, so we can do that while they just focus on their business. Once again, if there's any other questions, put them in the chat box. We'll deal with them later. The next tenant, or the next foundation of cloud services, is multi-tenancy. And what multi-tenancy is just like the two previous slides. It's an operational model where tenants and instances can share a management platform. And that management platform allows us to actually create different isolation models. Those isolation models can be logical, where they share a physical piece of hardware, or they can be physical isolation, where they have their own dedicated hardware also. So multi-tenancy and cloud computing doesn't always mean that you're running on the same hardware. We can get you dedicated hardware, obviously at different cost structures, but the multi-tenancy advantage comes in your management platform. And what we're going to do later today is show you some of our management platforms that we use here, and I'll walk you through a couple steps on what we do, some basic things on how multi-tenancy operates within the management platform. If you guys have any more questions, again, put them in the chat box. The next one is security, and this is where we explain how you're going to separate your customers from each other. So security relies heavily on the network virtualization piece, and every replica customer will get a dedicated VLAN, a virtual firewall, an external IP, and within that firewall, there's multiple firewall services that each replica customer can utilize within their firewall. And this is a virtual firewall, and it allows the customer to have an enterprise-class firewall without an enterprise-class price of purchasing a physical firewall. If you ever purchase a physical firewall, any kind of enterprise firewall, it can be very expensive. And just dedicating that upfront cost to a firewall that's not in this OpEx model that we're delivering it for a customer is a huge let-off for the customer, and allows the customer to, once again, focus on their competencies and consume the service month to month in a very easy manageable format. We have stateful inspection firewalls that can look at all the traffic. They're able to manage the firewalls completely from our interface panel. They can add additional NICs. They can change the routing. They can change the rules of the firewall. They can set up VPN tunnels themselves. You can create a load balancer if you need. All these things are part of the firewall functionality, and it's completely configurable and controllable within our cloud management portals. So if there's any questions, again, just go ahead and present it in the chat box. And I'm going to hand off to Jeff now to talk about specifically our rapid scale offering and what is it we do specifically to help customers in cloud computing.
Great, thanks, Amit. So I know that was a whirlwind tour of a little bit of the technology that we use here. We'll go through a little bit here of what we are actually presenting here at Rapid Scale. In our environments, we employ the best-in-class Cisco FlexPod cloud stack. And if anyone is familiar with the FlexPod, what it contains, the core components of a FlexPod environment is Cisco, Citrix, NetApp, and VMware. And the main components, if you look at the graph, it starts with Citrix Zen Desktop, which is the presentation layer for the FlexPod. That's what the customers will see. So anytime we deploy a cloud desktop environment, it's using Citrix. That Citrix rests on our VMware backend hypervisor. So all of our solutions in the backend are built on VMware ESX with VMware vCloud and vSphere as well. And the Cisco UCS B-Series Blade servers, along with UCS Manager, provide the compute portion of the FlexPod infrastructure. And we also have some, in addition to the Cisco UCS B-Series, we also have some C-Series standalone servers. And that, of course, depends on the need of the client that we're building for. And behind all that is the NetApp FAS 10 gigabit Ethernet and fiber channel over Ethernet. It's very fast storage. NetApp is an industry leader in storage, and it provides, combined, it provides a great unified platform for building a cloud. Within our data centers, today we've got 3 data centers in the United States. Starting from left to right, we have in Irvine, California, we're at Savis's OC2 data center, and it's a Tier 3 data center. And I'll discuss in a minute the data center tiers and why that's important. In Dallas, Texas, we're at a Tier Point data center, which is also a Tier 3 data center. And in Sterling, Virginia, we're at a Savis, their DC3 data center. And all of those 3 data centers provide the services across our client base, depending on where they're located and the fastest point to those data centers. Coming soon, we are building a data center in Montreal, Quebec, and that should be coming in Q4 2015. So by the end of this year, we should have our data center built up in Montreal, in London, which should also come by the end of the year, and in Hong Kong. So we're building a customer base now that has needs for compute and storage resources within the more global environment. So we're spreading out our data centers across the globe. You see in the presentation, you'll see some PDF files. Those, when you get the presentation later today or you pull it down from the partner portal later, you can open those and see the specific specs on the data centers. And a little bit more, I call them speeds and feeds, the data that you can get from understanding what goes on behind the scenes of the data center and why that's important. So I mentioned before the data center tiers and kind of what that is and why that's important. So I noted that our data centers are Tier 3 data centers. And what that means, that the data centers are tiered between Tier 1 and Tier 4. Tier level 1 is a single non-redundant distribution, serves just the IT equipment, no redundant capacity components, and just basic site infrastructure. A Tier 1 data center, you can think of it as if a customer has a data center on site within their office, or a data closet, or a room with servers, that's most likely what a Tier 1 would be considered. It's just the basic and obviously the lowest cost. The Tier 2 meets all the Tier 1 requirements, but does offer some redundant infrastructure with expected availability of about 99.7, which is still several hours a year of downtime. Now, Tier 3 data centers, which we employ, of course, meets all of the Tier 1 and Tier 2 requirements, but also has multiple independent distribution paths serving the equipment. That would be multiple internet connections, multiple power connections, multiple Ethernet components or fiber, as well as requirement that all components within that data center are dual powered, meaning you've got 2 power cords for each component that are split into separate circuits within the data center. And Tier 4 data centers, which there's only a couple of Tier 4 data centers in the entire United States, they're truly Tier 4. And those meet or exceeds all Tier 3 requirements. And the cooling equipment is all independently dual powered. Means that if all the power went out in the data center, the cooling equipment would still stay on, including chillers and heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and also that the entire infrastructure is fault tolerant with electrical power and distribution, meaning you've got 2 power companies serving that data center, along with along with generators. So the Tier 3 is the pretty much the highest level that most people use within the United States. Tier 4s would be the NSA data center in Utah. They just built a new one right outside of Draper, Utah, an NSA data center that would probably be considered Tier 4. And for our connectivity between the data center sites, so in Irvine, we have our one data center. We've got our load balancing that serves our entire virtualization environment and the FlexPod environment. So it goes from the load balancer into the FlexPod. And that's connected to Dallas and Virginia through an MPLS connection that is at least a 10 gig connection between each data center. Now, each data center also has ingress and egress points for internet at 100 megabits each. They all go out to the internet at 100 megabits each. So we've got pretty redundant and strong connectivity. And so I'm being told that my audio is chopping up, so let me switch real quick. I apologize. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to try picking up the handset. Is that any better? So if you guys can post. I noticed one attendee was saying that the audio wasn't working at all. So, okay, now hopefully everybody can hear me a little bit better. I apologize for that. Going back to the connectivity, we've got the MPLS connection across all data centers. So each data center can get to the other data center with no problem. And then each data center also goes out to the data center. We had a question that says the client is being backed up to at least one other data center. Generally, yes, we do offer our cloud recovery services, which will automatically back up the client's environment to another data center using the cloud recovery services. We do back up our data centers through snapshots and other backup tools within that data center, and we replicate a lot of data over to at least one other data center. So it's a mesh compound. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, so I wanted to review very quickly the flow chart that we have for our implementation and support process. So this kind of gets outside of the technology and more into the process and the rules here at what we're doing in spinning up a client. So if we look at the flow chart, it goes from prospect, which is where sales is out selling, the sales engineer designs a solution, the solution's approved. Then from order processing, it goes, the solution has been approved in the prospect part. It goes into the system, spits out, notifies the project manager. Project manager begins to work with the engineering team and the client. And on the service implementation portion, that's where we begin setting up the VPN with each customer, which is a very important component of setting up a client environment, especially if there's data transfer that needs to be done, migration, if we're doing replication, anything that requires always-on connectivity to the client site, we'll set up a VPN between us and that customer. Then most of our environments require AD connectivity. If the customer doesn't have Active Directory in their site today, we'll set up an Active Directory in our site because Citrix requires it. You have to have a domain, an Active Directory domain, in order to run it. Then we'll go with applications, data migrations, monitoring, testing, and handoff to the support. And then we've got our managed cloud environment, which is where the managed cloud team reviews the account with engineering and support, confirms the escalation process with the client, and provides any training and documentation that's required, and keeps an eye on the tickets. Then we've got our support team, which provides ongoing support to the users and customers after the implementation is complete. So once the implementation is done, we'll send this off to support. It's a warm handoff. We'll give it to support team. They'll already know a lot about the customer, and we'll be able to take right over. And then ongoing account management would be the agent's job, or the channel managers, to keep on top of those customers, looking out for new products, new sales that we can provide to those customers, and scheduling on-site weekly meetings. Or with a lot of our customers, we'll do status meetings, at least throughout the project. We'll do normal calls and make sure that they're staying abreast of everything that's happening within the environment. Okay. Good. If you have any questions, be sure to post them in the questions field. And as a reminder, the decks will be available later today through email for all those attending, and will be posted to the partner portal for everyone to download. So with that, I also want to review part of our environment in terms of our approach and strategy. RapidScale maintains a client-first approach and strategy. Our business method for all of our managed cloud. Naturally, client satisfaction is our #1 goal. Within our offices, we maintain team cohesiveness. We're always collaborating, having meetings, getting together, very interactive with the customers, building cloud knowledge base experts through the entry-level positions. And what that means is, as you grow, there's no school for cloud except for our own cloud university. You can't go to UCLA and study cloud technology. So it's really a learn-as-you-go type of a technology, because it's still very new. So when we bring on a support or an engineer, raising them up through the cloud and making them experts by building their knowledge through training, through documentation, through working with clients, we're building cloud experts here at RapidScale from the ground up. And as far as our strategy goes, we're working with a sense of urgency. We always prioritize what needs to be done and how it needs to be done, and we work to get it done. We have client management applications, and I don't want to read the slides, but you guys get the idea. We really work hard to bring the resolutions to the customers in a customer-first strategy. Weekly review calls, I mentioned, quarterly planning. One thing I did want to point out is today we have a 95% overall customer satisfaction per the surveys that are sent out after a trouble ticket is entered. So when a customer calls or they go online and enter a ticket into our ticketing system, after the issue has been resolved or the question is resolved, we'll send out a survey. And for those that respond to the survey, 95% have been very positive. Now, on our help desk, when someone calls in and they have an issue, 65% of those issues are resolved with the very first call. And that's actually a pretty good number. And if the customer is somehow not satisfied or they're not happy with how things have gone, then we make personal calls to each of those customers or users who have responded unsatisfied and try to resolve to keep our customers happy and bring them up to a satisfied level. Okay, so with that, we are going to go into the demonstration portion, and Amit is going to present two of our portals. We have our cloud server portal, and we have our cloud portal services manager. So we'll go to our cloud services portal first, and let me go ahead and log in for you, Emmett, and then I will bring it back over to the screen and have you continue on. So again, in the meantime, any questions, please let us know right away.
Hey, Jeff, I think you got to bring it back to the first screen because I don't see the...
I know, I'm finished logging in. Okay, so there we go. You are all set. Go ahead, Amit, back to you.
All right, thanks, Jeff. All right, guys, so what we're going to do here is going to walk through just a basic usage of our portal and our cloud server environment, just so you can kind of get a feel of what the customer can and can't do within the environment and how they manage their resources, right? So let me get to a customer level so I can show you what that looks like. So let me pull up a customer that now has. So this is the customer view here. When they first log in, they can see the cloud servers that are available to them based on the data center that they're in. So this customer is in Dallas, Texas, and they have all these different VM templates that they can spin up at any time. So they can do different types of firewalls, Citrix HDX monitors, Linux appliances, NetScaler, Windows servers. There's a different version of Linux here. So they can just go ahead and add one of these, and it's like it's a shopping cart type of experience where they just they click plus on this green icon here, and they basically just describe the kind of server that they like to build. And our orchestration panel here, this is one of our multi-tenant orchestration panels, will go ahead and create the server built for them. It'll spin it up, and then I'll send them the login information and stuff within the panel. So we can just look really quickly at some of these services also. So once a VM spun up, it'll show up under the Services tab. You click on the Services tab, you'll see all the VMs that this customer has. There you go. They have a bunch of VMs here. This is all live workloads for their Citrix environment, and we kind of group it by their product type. So they're subscribed to the cloud desktop and subscribed to the cloud server environment. So this shows that they have two different product types with our company, and these are the different VMs that they have there. Also, there's ways that they can manage the rest of their infrastructure, such as networks, firewalls. They can look at their usage or bandwidth. They can schedule specific tasks, like a lot of customers may want to schedule a reboot. So maybe every six days or maybe 2 months, they want to do a reboot of a specific server. They can schedule that from this panel. This panel will automatically do that reboot for them and make sure that they don't have to be doing it manually themselves or write a script to do it. So this allows some kind of orchestration or automation for them, so they can manage their environment. Within here, they can see their monthly bill. They can add additional staff. They can manage their personal profile and that sort of thing, all from the panel. It's a nice, easy to use point and click type of interface, and it works really well for our customers. All right, Jeff, if we could get the CPSM panel going now. All right, so what we're going to show you here is our Cloud Portal Services Manager panel, and this is for our multi-tenant customers, our Cloud Mail customers, and our share file customers. And what this allows them to do is actually manage their user accounts that connect to these services. And it allows them to actually subscribe and unsubscribe from services that we provision through this panel. And it's all self-service. Initially, we can get them set up into the panel and imported into the environment, but after that, they can manage all the services themselves. So, well, what I can do here is show you what a customer looks like. Let me just get a test customer going. So this is basically a customer here that I spun up for us yesterday. We call them test customer, and what they can do here, they can change the customer details, they can add additional users, they can re-provision their customer configuration, or they can build new services for themselves. So when they click on the services panel here, these are all the services that are available, and providing the service to a customer is pretty straightforward. It's really easy. If you're a customer administrator, you can literally open this up right here, panel, pick all the configurations that you want, hit provision, and it will actually provision the customer for you and provide the services for the customer. Within this panel also, they can manage their user base, so they can go in directly and see their users, edit their users, create new users, change passwords, whatever they need for a specific user that's synchronized to the panel or manually created in the panel. So we can actually synchronize Active Directories into this panel, and that service is called AD-Sync. But then you can also manually manage customers in this panel and users in this panel also. So as you see, it's a pretty straightforward, really easy to use web interface that allows them to manage their business and not have to worry about opening tickets or manually creating things for themselves or managing their infrastructure themselves. It's really user-friendly, and it allows them to focus on working on their business versus working on IT problems or IT issues or technical issues that would get in the way. And with that, I'll hand back over to Jeff, so he can go ahead and finish up with you guys. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Emma. Thanks for the presentation. So this actually ends our presentation portion of the webinar. I'll open it up now to questions. Again, if you have any questions, please post them, and we'd be happy to answer them online, or we can answer them through the questions button. So we'll give everyone a couple minutes to type questions if you have any. And in the meantime, as another reminder, if anyone had joined later, is the webinar will be posted on the partner portal, and we'll also be sending out a copy to the attendees via email later this afternoon. So again, thanks for joining. Our contact info is on the screen. If you have anything that you need, please feel free to reach out to sales or support. And I don't see any new questions. Okay, well, with that, thank you all for attending. You get a few minutes of your day back, and I hope you all have a wonderful week and a great weekend this weekend. So thank you all, and goodbye.